Hey everyone, I'm hoping the camera is going to stay where it is. It's kind of precariously propped, but anyway, I have two videos for you guys tonight. First is going to be the rest of my March wrap-up. I have two more books to talk about, and then the other is going to be a book buying or lack thereof video thing. Anyway, so for March, the last two books that I read were, again, two more ebooks. One was Shades of Milk and Honey by Mary Robinette Kowal, and the other was Friday's Child by Georgette Heyer. The first I had as, or have as a ebook on my Kindle, so I was very happy to get one of my Kindle ebooks off of my TBR because I counted the other day, and this will be part of what I talk about in the book buying video, but I have way more ebooks than I thought because I go through phases sometimes where I'm like, hey, I really want this classic, but I don't want to pay for it, and usually they're free on Kindle, so I will go and get like 10 of those in a day or something silly like that. But anyway, I'll talk about that more in the other video. So I was very happy to get one of the Kindle books that I paid for off of my TBR. And then the other is Friday's Child by Georgette Heyer, which I got as a Hoopla ebook. That's another thing that I want to talk about in this book buying video, because that's another thing that I need to tone down on, is, you know, all the taking such great advantage of Hoopla and Overdrive when I have so many things on my own shelves that need reading. So, again, different video, so I'll talk about that then. But first I'll talk about Shades of Milk and Honey by Mary Robinette Kowal, and then Friday's Child. But also I am going to talk a little bit about them together because part of... I'm really sorry if you guys heard that. I think that was the ice maker. But part of an issue that I had that then got resolved with Shades of Milk and Honey, the resolution came from reading Friday's Child at the same time. So anyway, I'll talk about the two issues that I had with Shades of Milk and Honey first. And as I said before, one of them kind of turned out not to be so much of an issue. But, you know, I want to get the negative out of the way first, and then I'll talk about the positive. So, for Shades of Milk and Honey, how this was pitched to me by so many different people, and not me specifically, just people's reviews in general. So, how it was pitched to readers by these reviewers is a lot of people said it's like Jane Austen and Neil Gaiman combined. And if any of you have been around my channel for any period of time, you know that Jane Austen is probably my favorite, no longer living author, and Neil Gaiman is my favorite current living author. So, you know, a pitch like that, I'm like, yes, I need this. I need to read it. So I kind of knew based on the summary that the magic system was the Neil Gaiman part and their Regency romance was the Jane Austen part. And also this whole series, this book is the first in the Glamorous Histories series, and the whole series is considered historical fantasy, and it is all set in the Regency period, or like mostly in the Regency period. It could go beyond that, but I haven't gotten that far in the series yet, so I don't know. But the specific, the first one is specifically considered a Regency romance as part of a subgenre. So anyway, I started reading this, and I was really liking it, and I really do like Mary Robinette Kowal's writing in general, but the thing that I always caught was that she was spelling certain words, I guess the same way that they would have been spelled in Austen's time. And I get that that's supposed to be more, make the reader more immersed in the story. I totally got that that's why she was doing that, or I think that's why she was doing that. However, for me, it kept, tripping me up, like, every time, because it was it was infrequent enough that when it came up, I was like, whoa, that's not right. Oh, wait, yes, it is for that time. What? And it pulled me out of the story instead of bringing me further into it, if that makes sense. However, then I actually started reading. Okay, sorry. I should also explain that another reason why it was irking me is because when I read Austen works, I've read all 6 of her major works, a couple at least once or twice. At this point, I think twice for all of them, at least. And I've never seen words spelled like this. Like, whoever publishes these doesn't leave the words in that spelling. I don't know. So, that was another thing that was throwing me off, is I was like, this is supposed to be putting you, immersing you more in the Regency period, but when I read Austen, these words aren't spelled like this, so it's really tripping me up. But then I started reading Friday's Child by Georgette Heyer, about the same time that I was still in the middle of this one. And she does the exact same thing. Georgette Heyer was writing Regency romances in the 1930s. So even though these books are 80 years apart, both authors were doing the same thing with their historical fiction, where they were spelling these words the way that they would have or should have been spelt in the Regency time. So that actually made me feel better about my reading for Shades of Milk and Honey, because it then it made me realize that it wasn't just Mary Robinette Kowal. And I figured, maybe this is just something that historical fiction writers sometimes do. So that kind of made that little issue go away. And I'm sorry that was a long explanation, but I wanted to, I guess, talk through what was going through my head while I was reading these books. So yeah, they sort of canceled each other out, if that makes any sense. So then the one issue that I still have with it that I'm hoping will get resolved as the series continues. I still haven't started the second book yet. But when I said earlier that this was pitched by a whole bunch of different people as you should read this because it's like if you like Jane Austen and you like Neil Gaiman, it's like a combination of the two of them. I again realized, okay, the magic system is the Neil Gaiman part and the Regency romance is the Jane Austen part. So because of that, I went into it knowing that the main character had at least one sibling. I thought she probably had more, but I think it turns out, does she? I can't remember. But anyway, so I went into this thinking, oh, this family relationship is going to be like the Bennets. So the relationship between the two main characters is going to be, the two siblings is going to be like Elizabeth and Jane in Pride and Prejudice. No, it was far more like Elizabeth and Lydia Bennet. The two main characters in Shades of Milk and Honey are Jane and Melody. What is their last name? I'm sorry, I'm forgetting their last name, but Jane and Melody. And Melody was much more like Lydia than Jane, and so because of that, their relationship was very, I was really disappointed because it was like we were thrown into the deep end of this. It was like we were immediately thrown into this very, I think, unhealthy sibling relationship. It was very, as I said, it was like Elizabeth and Lydia Bennet's relationship in Pride and Prejudice, but throw in jealous rivalry, basically. And so it was really irritating me because I kind of felt like the way that the main character Jane is presented to us, that this kind of behavior or these feelings that she has towards her sister were a little bit beneath her. But at the same time, I kind of didn't really begrudge her these feelings that she had for her sister, because it just proved that she was human. It proved that she did have flaws and that her character wasn't perfect. So that I didn't really mind, but then every time there was a scene between them, it felt incredibly uncomfortable and made me very sad. And I really didn't like Melody for the majority of the book. Even at the end, I didn't care for her much. So what I'm hoping is that, based on the way the first book, Shades of Milk and Honey, resolves, that maybe their relationship can be mended and get better as the books go on. Because honestly, if it doesn't, I think that might be the one big flaw in this series for me, because it was definitely the one big flaw in the first book for me. However, that was the only thing that I really didn't like about it. I really loved everything else. I loved the character of Jane. I loved pretty much all the other characters that we were supposed to like. I don't really know if we were supposed to like Melody or not, but I didn't really care for Melody. But I liked, I feel like I liked everyone we were supposed to like and disliked everyone we were supposed to dislike. Oh, and I will say that another thing about the female relationships is most of the other female relationships in it were healthy, except for there was one point where, again, it goes kind of sour, and I didn't really like that part either, so I kind of lumped that in with the whole Jane and Melody aspect. But again, everything else was great. I really liked the character of Mr. Vincent. He's the main male lead, I guess. I really, really loved his character. I loved the plot. There were some scenes in this book where it really made me, it almost made me cry happy tears at some points. Like, I think at one point I did legit cry happy tears, and then at another point I just really wanted to, but it didn't quite get there. But yeah, so I really enjoyed this, and I'm really happy that I have books 2 and 3 in physical format, because I bought those from a library book sale several years ago, and I really wish that whoever donated them had also given the last 2 books in the series, but I guess what I'm guessing is they had just finished books 2 and 3 and were still reading books 4 and 5 or something. But yeah, it made me sad that those were the only 2, but luckily those are the next 2 in the series, so I can read those and then get the last 2 from the library, or maybe buy them at some point. But anyway, okay, so I've talked about this one book for 14 minutes, and I really don't want to try to refilm this and not talk as much about it, because I feel like everything I said about it was kind of important as to how I felt. So I'm gonna make this part 3 of my March wrap-up, and I'm gonna make a part 4 that's gonna be my review of Friday's Child. So I'm sorry this ended up being a 14-minute one-book review, but I really feel like everything I said needed to be said. So let me know if you guys ended up liking this book and what you thought. Oh, and I should say my star rating for this is a 4 out of 5. The only thing that knocked it was that whole relationship issue that I had. But I liked everything else. I really enjoy her writing, and as I said, like, I did have some hesitation about the spelling stuff early on, but then reading the Georgette Hare book kind of fixed that for me, so that ended up not being an issue at all, and I ended up it ended up not really tripping me up as I went along, so that was good. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you for part 4 of my March wrap-up. Bye.